episode is brought to you by NMN Pure H+, a powerful anti-aging and DNA repair natural supplement from our human and canine product lines. Aging is a natural, inevitable process in our lives. However, there is a difference between being able to enjoy life to the fullest as we and our dogs age and having our physical and mental performance impacted by issues such as lack of mobility, muscle and joint inflammation, chronic disease, depression, and memory loss. I've always been interested in finding out how people can get to experience healthy and pain-free old age alongside their dogs. I first learned about the benefits of NMN, or nicotinamide mononucleotide, in slowing down the aging process while reading Lifespan, an insightful book on longevity written by Harvard professor David Sinclair. NMN is essential in helping us stay healthy and live longer for two reasons. One, it boosts the mitochondria's, which is our cell energy factory, ability to power our cells' biochemical reactions. And second, it increases the production of certain enzymes, also called longevity proteins, which improves DNA repair and reduces the risks of cancer. Within our cells, NMN is transformed into NAD, or nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide, which is the primary energy source for our body cell. NAD gets depleted by 50% by the time we reach our 40s and our dogs reach middle age. That's when we begin to see the full impact of aging on our bodies. We feel tired, we see our dogs being tired, we get forgetful, and things start cracking and hurting, which stops us from enjoying the activities we used to do and love doing. And the same happens for our dogs. NMN Pure H+ is the result of having experienced first-rate the health benefits of M&M, but also the challenge of finding reliable, high-grade M&M products on the market. M&M Pure H+ is made from high-quality ingredients, triple-tested for purity, heavy metals, and nutritional value. Our products come in eco-friendly glass jars that are safe both for you, your dog, and the planet. What changes have I noticed in my body since taking NMN? My memory and focus have improved, and I rarely feel stiff or achy in my muscles. I feel more energized throughout the day and during workouts, and I've seen the same in our clinical trial with dogs. And the result I've got well into my 50s have inspired my family and friends to take M&M as well. If you're over 40 or your dog over 5 years, check out M&M Pure H+ at peterdobias.com. Again, the website is peterdobias.com, and see the difference for yourself. Hello, my dog lovers. This is Dr. Peter Tobias, and you're listening to Not Just About Dogs. Today, I'm going to talk about a topic that is familiar to pretty much every dog lover and every person alive, because I'll be talking about diarrhea and how to treat it without drugs and chemicals, and how to restore your dog's digestive system. I will also be talking about inflammatory bowel disease or leaky gut, and supplements and measures to take when you see your dog having problems with number 2. I know that every dog lover is excited and thrilled when we see perfect number 2. And I also know that diarrhea is very upsetting. Often we do not know, or people do not know what to do and how to address diarrhea, whether they should see a vet or not, or whether they should go to a doctor themselves. And today I'd like to bring a little more clarity into this runny topic. What I noticed over the course of 3 decades of practicing as a veterinarian, most people see diarrhea as a negative. But if you look at the natural origin of diarrhea, it is actually a form of cleansing. It is a form of getting rid of some sort of impurities or bacteria. It is to eliminate something that does not belong in the body. If diarrhea lasts for 24 or 48 hours, it should not be a problem, and all you need to know how to address it from the point of first aid. If it lasts longer than 48 hours, it's obviously a bigger problem, and that you should see a veterinarian or doctor if the problem affects your digestive tract. As a dog lover and parent, I know how essential it is to make the best decisions and help your dog recover as quickly as possible. That's why I created a comprehensive guide that narrows down everything I learned in over 30 years of my clinical practice while caring for my patients and also my dog Sky, who suffered from frequent bouts of chronic diarrhea as a puppy, and he helped me to figure out what the core of some cases of diarrhea is. This podcast focuses on how to treat acute and chronic diarrhea in dogs and improve gut health through a holistic approach, and covers the most common causes of diarrhea. I'm also going to go through home remedies, diet recommendations, and talk about the importance of probiotic supplements and how to choose them for your dog's digestive and immune systems. So, first, I would like to talk about what diarrhea actually is and why it happens. Now, tell me if this sounds familiar to you. Your dog is roaming around the park when you see them eating something entirely disgusting and try to stop them, but it's too late. Our dogs are professional scavengers by nature. For this reason, their organism has evolved to allow their digestive tract to cleanse itself of harmful bacteria and substances through diarrhea. Think of it as a messy yet highly effective defense mechanism. Compared to conventional medicine, which sees diarrhea as something harmful that must be stopped at any cost and rushes to diagnose localized cases first, integrative medicine or holistic medicine views brief episodes of infrequent diarrhea as a method to restore health and purify the body of toxins and pathogens. Now, what you should focus on during a sudden bout of diarrhea without any other symptoms is making sure that your dog receives the proper care and support while the cleansing process runs its course. Depending on its duration and severity, diarrhea can be acute, sudden onset lasting from 1 or 2 days up to 2 weeks, or chronic, frequent episodes lasting more than 3 weeks, varying in intensity and not responsive to regular treatment. This podcast includes treatment steps and recommendations for both types of diarrhea. Now, let's talk about the main causes of diarrhea in dogs. Before we get into the treatment of recommendations, I would like to have a quick look at the most common causes. And there are numerous reasons why your dog may suffer from diarrhea, from viruses and parasites to food allergies or swallowing indigestible objects, and there are also some connections between your dog's diarrhea and lumbar spine injuries. Let's have a look at bacteria first. Pathogens such as Salmonella, Campylobacter, Clostridium, or other pathogenic strains of E. coli are well known to cause diarrhea in dogs. However, unless your dog's immune system is compromised or they suffer from nutritional deficiencies, you should not worry that much about bacteria. Dogs are naturally resistant to it. Dogs have natural immunity that allows them to eat very disgusting things without getting sick. Another possible cause of diarrhea are toxins. When they enter your dog's body, the almost instant health response is to expel them through what we know as an episode of acute diarrhea, especially if your dog gets into something that really doesn't suit them, or if it's toxic, let's say mushrooms or something similar. If there is nutrient deficiency, however, some toxins like heavy metals can remain in the body, occupying the empty receptor seats of healthy minerals and leading to metabolic disturbances and disease. For example, if your dog has a calcium deficiency, their body is more likely to absorb toxic lead or radioactive strontium from what they eat because these toxins share the same electric charge and the calcium receptors are empty if there is calcium deficiency. The same happens for minerals such as iron, selenium, and zinc. When they are missing from the body, harmful substances like mercury might take their place. Now, what I usually do to prevent toxin buildup in the body and causing diarrhea, whether it's acute and chronic, is to actually provide full spectrum plant-based mineral support, which I use in the form of Greenmin. It's a plant-based mineral supplement, Greenmin. And I also do semi-annual liver cleanse. If it's the first cleanse, it usually should last roughly about 6 weeks. And the consecutive cleanses should last roughly about a month. That's what I do for myself and my dog Pax. There are 2 different certified organic formulas, one for humans, one for dogs. And it is also a formula that is fermented. And fermentation is known to be beneficial when it comes to the efficiency of the product or efficacy of the product, anti-inflammatory, antioxidant, and anti-cancer properties. There are numerous studies that actually show that fermentation of supplements is superior to just regular supplements that are not fermented. For those of you who would like to learn a little more about the ingredients in Liver Tune, I'm just going to bring up a little list or mention the list of ingredients and their effect for you to understand how this product is formulated and what it can do for your dog or yourself. Now, there's several different ingredients: artichoke powder, dandelion root powder, milk thistle, barley grass, French tree bark powder, turmeric root, cilantro powder, and ashwagandha. Just to go through these ingredients' efficacy, artichoke powder is good for inflammatory bowel disease. It increases bile production. It is also an antioxidant. It has antibacterial and antifungal properties, and it protects the liver. It can also serve as prebiotics, the food for the beneficial bacteria in the gut. Dandelion root powder is diuretic. It has anti-cancer properties. It is good for indigestion. It increases bile production as well. It is also a prebiotic, and it improves circulation, blood, and digestive tract function. Milk thistle, almost everyone knows milk thistle. It is amazing for liver support, detoxification, digestion. It increases glutathione, which is important antioxidant in plants. And it also is capable in preventing liver damage on the cellular level, meaning that milk thistle is a liver protectant, and it is used to neutralize the free radicals, and it improves detoxification of heavy metals. French tree bark powder is a liver and gallbladder support, and it stimulates bile flow as well. So you can see that many of these ingredients protect the liver, stimulate bile flow, and also help to eliminate toxins from the body. Barley grass powder is very nutrient-rich superfood. It's good for digestion and also detox. Many of you know turmeric root powder. It's good for inflammation. It has shown to have positive effect in treating cancer. It is a good digestive support. It also increases glutathione. And then the next ingredient, and I forgot to mention that in the first round, is broccoli sprout powder, which is an amazing digestive, cancer, and immune system support. Cilantro powder is amazing in chelation of heavy metals. So it's a chelation agent, and it also protects the liver. And last but not the least is ashwagandha, which reduces inflammation. It is an amazing supplement when it comes to stress, anxiety. We know that liver does affect the moods, that dogs that are liver toxic or people who are liver toxic can get a little grumpy and sensitive to touch. So it actually does help in the overall liver balancing and detoxification. Ashwagandha also improves cognitive function and fertility, and helps to prevent hypothyroidism. So that's about Liver Tune. If you have any questions, you can always go to livertune.com and look at the ingredients and all the other information that may be looking for. Food allergies may also be cause of diarrhea and inflammatory bowel disease and leaky gut. But I do believe that many dogs are misdiagnosed with allergies, and that this kind of label is used quite often in veterinary medicine and in medicine in general without really having any particular proof that there is an allergic reaction and a response. And I also believe that the immune system actually is at the core of these overreactivities and sensitivities, meaning that even if there are allergies, you have to address the immune system and its overfunction or misguided reaction, as opposed to saying these are allergies and try to eliminate a particular food source. So, and pet food companies have also taken advantage of the whole allergy diagnosis, and it's a very lucrative group of products for them to manufacture allergy diets, and they just don't really address the primary cause. I don't want you to get me wrong, true allergic reactions do happen. However, most of the time it's just the immune system and it being overwhelmed and overreacting to a protein that otherwise would be harmless. From my experience of suffering from hay fever when I was a teenager, the body eventually stops having these allergic reactions to allergens when it is healthier and diet contains nutrient-rich, toxin-free, wholesome food. So that's how I approached it myself. I stopped eating milk products and reduced sugar and some of the white flour products, and my allergies have reduced maybe down to 90% what they used to be, which is pretty handleable and manageable. Now, if you are looking for healthy diet recipes for your dog, I created this free recipe maker that you can find at recipemaker.peterdobias.com. recipemaker.peterdobias.com. There's tons of recipes that you can create from this particular tool, or with this particular tool. You'll get list of vegetables and bones and meat and how to mix it together, what the proportions are, and also how much to feed if your dog is overweight or thin, and how to recognize if they're either. Vaccines are perceived as an essential part of preventive care. However, heavy vaccination protocols and recommendations that fail to follow the basic principles of immunology can do more harm than good for your dog's health. It is important to know that you can maintain the protective levels of antibodies without giving your dog more vaccines or boosters than their immune system can handle. I am a big believer in minimizing the number of foreign substances entering the body, and that includes vaccines, especially when they contain mercury and formaldehyde, and also thimerosal, which is a compound that is recognized as toxic and increases the risk of developing cancer later on. Also, beside the risk of developing acute allergic reactions, vaccines can cause symptoms of the disease that they actually are meant or designed for, including diarrhea. Now, I'm going to explain this a little bit. It is to believe that these vaccines do not carry the active pathogen, but they may carry some sort of energetic or disease or symptom-causing properties that I have seen being in effect in practice. Very often, I would see the body being agitated or upset after vaccinations and displaying the symptoms of diarrhea or skin problems, ear problems, immune system insufficiencies, autoimmune disease, and others. So remember that if you decide to vaccinate your dog, that you should minimize the number of vaccines. And if you're wondering what this looks like, you can go to my website at peterdobias.com and look for vaccination protocol, and it'll give you the exact information and the protocol that I use in practice. Parasites are another common cause of diarrhea. Roundworms, hookworms, whipworms, giardia, coccidia, tapeworm can be all causes of diarrhea in dogs. Now, there is a very different approach to treating each of these pathogens. I would like to start with giardia. Often it is diagnosed in dogs. However, it may not be the cause of diarrhea or symptoms, especially if you just see giardia on a routine fecal exam without a dog having any particular issues with digestive tract. It is actually better to let it go and leave it as opposed to treating with metronidazole, which can cause actually serious side effects. It's a drug that is commonly used for diarrhea, and if you are interested in learning more, again, go to my website and search for metronidazole or diarrhea, and you'll get all the information there. If you see giardia in a dog that does have diarrhea, then it's much better to treat first with dietary precautions and adjusting your dog's overall immunity, giving probiotics and using natural methods before you reach for metronidazole. Now, if your veterinarian prescribed metronidazole, the proof that the medication worked is not actually the absence of giardia, just the absence of symptoms. Again, giardia may continue to be present in your dog's digestive tract, and it may not be causing any problems. Giardia, for those who do not know, is also a pathogen that causes so-called beaver fever. That's basically giardia disease. So just to clarify here. Almost 30% of dogs younger than 6 months and only 6% of dogs older than 6 months are parasite infested. And usually those parasites are roundworm, hookworm, whipworms, which are the parasites that can be detected from the fecal sample on flotation tests, meaning that you basically look for the eggs of the parasites, or they do in the lab or in the veterinary clinic. Coccidia is another parasite that we find commonly, especially in puppies, and it can cause actually diarrhea and problems in pups. In adult dogs, usually it doesn't cause any problems, and I would not recommend treating it unless you see chronic recurrent diarrhea and you have not found any other causes of diarrhea. Now, when it comes to tapeworms, can be transferred through two different routes. One of them is from fleas, and the other one is from eating meat of herbivores or mice. So any herbivores like cow or sheep and others can carry tapeworm larvae, and the only way to determine or diagnose tapeworm effectively and simply is to check your dog's fecal sample on a regular basis. If you see sesame seed-like segments or a little more square segments of tapeworm, they're white, usually they're on the surface, they're kind of moving on their own, but they're just a segment of a tapeworm that basically has been shed by the parasite. I recommend using a deworming medication specific to the parasite present and with the lowest possible side effects. Now, again, if you would like to see a chart of medication that is used for as dewormers and their side effects, you can go to my website at petertobias.com and type in parasites or deworming medication and the blog will come up. Generally, I do not like to deworm dogs that do not have parasites or have not been shown to have parasites on a test, and that applies to puppies. However, I do recommend examining fecal samples of puppies every month and deworming them. And usually the deworming has to happen at least twice if you see positive sample. Again, deworming pups without knowing that they have parasites may not be the best choice because dewormers do have side effects and they can negatively affect the digestive tract in the long term. Actually, what I'd like to do is to maybe just list the most common medication for parasites and the side effects, just to make it easy for you. So fenbendazole is one of the ingredients, and it may cause diarrhea, loose stool, loss of appetite, and lethargy. Pyrantyl pamoate, which is one of least side effect causing medication. It's been very widely used and it's quite inexpensive. It only causes possible vomiting. Milbemycin oxime can cause seizures, nervous system effects. Piperazine, nausea, vomiting, muscular tremors. Moxidectin, depression, salivation, dilated pupils, incoordination, panting, muscle tremors, coma and death. Imidacloprid and moxidectin, itchy skin, lethargy, inappetence, vomiting, diarrhea, seizures, autoimmune hemolytic anemia, liver disease, anaphylactic reaction, and death. Selamectin, vomiting, diarrhea, panting, itching, anorexia, lethargy, salivation, muscle tremors, ataxia, seizures, death. Amodepside or praziquantel combination, licking, excessive grooming, scratching at the site of application, salivation, hair loss, agitation, vomiting, diarrhea, eye irritation, respiratory irritation, shaking and tremors. Amodepside and totirazuril vomiting and loose stools, ivermectin, lethargy, inappetence, diarrhea, vomiting, lack of balance, excessive drooling, and seizures. Ivermectin and parental, vomiting, diarrhea, lethargy, anorexia, ataxia, excessive salivation, and convulsions or seizures. Milbemycin and lufernurin, diarrhea, excessive drooling, loss of appetite, vomiting, skin irritation, seizures, and death. Milbemycin and spinosad, vomiting, itching, lethargy, diarrhea, rash, decreased appetite, reddening of ears or skin, labor breathing, salivation, seizures, and death. And then malbimycin and praziquantel, diarrhea, vomiting, inappetence, and sedation. So you can see that this lineup of deworming medication is definitely doesn't come without any side effects. It can cause very serious side effects, and that's why I recommend medication that is the gentlest and has the least possible side effects. Now, diet deficiencies can also cause diarrhea because the intestinal tract is very demanding when it comes to nutrients. The cells of the intestinal tract need nutrients to function properly. There are 37,000 billion chemical reactions happening in the body every single second. And if there is something missing, a mineral or nutrient of other kind, like vitamin, omega oils, or even probiotics, it can really cause problems in the digestive tract. What I see anywhere around the world, almost anywhere, is that people do not recycle food and food doesn't get back to the soils. Agriculture is intensive. Farmers cannot really replenish all the nutrients the way it would happen, let's say, in Africa when there is undisturbed reserve environment and the animals just recycle nutrients and never take them away. So this is one of the reasons why we see so much difference in animals that are supplemented with essential supplements, and that can also make a huge difference whether your dog has or doesn't have diarrhea. Another cause of possible diarrhea can be Addison's disease. It is a condition where the adrenal glands lose their ability to produce the natural corticosteroids and electrolyte regulating hormones, mineralocorticoids. Such dysfunctions causes severe potassium and sodium regulation disruption and many other symptoms, including diarrhea. I call Addison's disease the great pretender because it can be really hard to diagnose and it can mimic all sorts of different conditions. So be careful if your dog has chronic diarrhea. Make sure that your veterinarian checks your dog for Addison's disease, especially if your dog is predisposed to Addison, such as Wheaten Terrier or Poodles, just to name a few. Another possible cause of diarrhea can be ingestion of a foreign object, which is actually quite common, especially in puppies. So if your puppy is vomiting and having diarrhea, definitely this is an urgent situation, and I would recommend you going to your veterinarian even before the 48 hours passes and make sure that your dog gets examined. It is also really important to consider that puppies may be affected by viral diseases such as parvovirosis or distemper. So generally, I do not recommend waiting if a puppy has diarrhea and going to see a veterinarian right away. Now, if your dog ingests a foreign object, I have an article or a blog on my website that explains exactly what the first aid is. If the object is more than 1.5 inches in diameter, it is very likely that it won't reach the small intestine, meaning that you'll have to have your dog throw up to get rid of this foreign object without needing a surgery. So what I usually recommend is preparing a mixture of 1/2 to 2 cups of cooked squash that is pureed, and add 1 tablespoon to 1/3 of a cup of whole flaxseed that is steeped in the same amount of water. So again, 1 tablespoon to 1/3 of a cup of steeped flaxseed in the same amount of hot water. And then I also recommend adding a small amount of smoked fish or something that is really palatable, like cooked liver or some sort of flavor that your dog likes. This mix will make the object slippery and will reduce the possibility of having it getting stuck in the esophagus when your dog is throwing up. When your dog eats this mixture, I recommend taking 1 teaspoon of 3% hydrogen peroxide per 5 pounds of body weight. So again, 1 teaspoon per 5 pounds of 3% hydrogen peroxide. And you can either use some sort of turkey baster or feeding syringe to give this hydrogen peroxide to your dog. You have also the option of mixing the hydrogen peroxide in the food that you give in the mixture, but that may not work as well. So depending on how well your dog does with having a hydrogen peroxide poured in his mouth or in his throat, you may either mix it with the food or you just give it on its own. Now, if your dog does not throw up within 30 minutes, because it should throw up after the peroxide is given, because it bubbles up in the stomach and it creates a larger volume, and usually dogs throw up. If it doesn't throw up, then I would recommend giving them another dose of hydrogen peroxide, but repeat it only one more time. If it doesn't happen, if your dog does not vomit the foreign object, then you may want to see a veterinarian. I've used this formula for a friend's dog when he ate mango pit, and it saved him couple of procedures and couple of surgeries. Actually, he's done it more than once. And we've been also getting many emails and feedback from other dog lovers saying that this particular mixture, the food plus hydrogen peroxide, works really well when their dog eats something that is indigestible and foreign. If the object your dog ingested is smaller than 1.5 inches, it will most likely pass through the colon and get eliminated in the stool. To ensure that the object passes without any problems, feed your dog a mixture of 50% meat of your choice, raw or cooked, 40% cooked squash that is pureed, and 10% flaxseed that is steeped with enough hot water to make it really slimy and slippery. I recommend feeding your dog this mix for 2 to 3 days until the object gets eliminated from the digestive tract. You may see it on the other side, you may not notice. I'm not necessarily saying that you should be digging around in your dog's stool. However, if your dog does not have any symptoms within 24 to 40 or 72 hours, most likely this foreign body has passed and your dog is safe. Now I'm getting to a very interesting and kind of non-conventional approach to solving diarrhea. Not many practitioners consider the relationship between spinal health and diarrhea when it comes to diagnosing your dog's illness. However, that is not entirely their fault, because veterinary textbooks also do not address the relationship of spine and digestive tract. I wouldn't have discovered that the lumbar spine strains and injuries can lead to digestive issues and diarrhea if it wasn't for Sky, my first dog, and who I consider the best teacher when it comes to diarrhea treatment. It wasn't until he suffered from intense episodes of diarrhea that didn't respond to any natural or conventional treatments, and I knew that I was missing something. In Sky's case, it was the act of ball chasing that injured his lumbar muscles and strained the lumbar muscles to the point where it restricted the energy and nerve and blood flow that supply specifically the large and small intestine. So just remember that the lumbar spine is very closely related to the digestive tract. Through adjustment of his exercise, chiropractic care, massage, acupuncture, I started to see improvements after several months of not really solving a chronic diarrhea situation. And I was worried and I was getting anxious because nothing that I saw normally worked in Sky's case. So what I mean is I basically treated Sky's back and the diarrhea episode stopped. And since then, I have helped hundreds and maybe thousands of dogs that had back injuries and diarrhea resulting from them. So it makes me really happy that I was able to figure it out. It was not easy, and I'm very grateful to Sky, my first dog, who passed away in 2017, but he's still with us in many ways. So what can you do about acute and chronic diarrhea? I would like to introduce you to my 7-step diarrhea treatment plan that will help you restore your dog's intestinal balance. Now, the first step that you take is fast your dog for 12 to 24 hours before feeding the next meal. Give your dog water throughout unless there is vomiting. And if there's vomiting, again, you may consider seeing a veterinarian because there may be some other issues like pancreatic inflammation, foreign body. All those can be serious problems. Now, if your dog is not throwing up, fast for 12 to 24 hours and give water. When the fast is over, start feeding them cooked squash or pumpkin and chicken broth or beef broth, whatever your dog tolerates well. And I would do that for 24 to 48 hours. So again, feed cooked squash or pumpkin. I do not recommend rice because of arsenic pollution, and generally it's too high in starches and may be detrimental to the microbial flora in the intestine. Use enough broth to achieve a runny porridge consistency with the squash and give it to your dog. Usually 24 hours is enough, but 48 hours may be needed in some other cases. Transition to lean meat and veggie blend. It can be again cooked or raw depending on what you prefer for 1 or 2 more days before switching back to the regular food. I'm not really saying that you have to feed raw or cooked diet. I know that it is the most beneficial food. However, some people cannot afford feeding other than kibble, and I don't hold it against you. I'm not going to tell you what to do. I just know that if you feed raw or cooked wholesome food instead of processed food, your dog has higher chances to be disease-free, which also results in veterinary bill savings and obviously added months and years of life. My experience is that dogs that are on raw or cooked home diet live a more disease-free life, and they usually live 20-25% longer on average. At least that's what I've seen in practice. Some people dispute it. I personally would never go back to kibble when it comes to my dog packs. But as I said, I don't hold it against you if you feed kibble. That is your choice. Now, make sure that you keep your dog well hydrated throughout the treatment or throughout using this particular protocol for diarrhea. And you can find out if your dog is dehydrated by pinching the skin on the top of the head, and it should return to its original position in 1 second or so. So you just pinch the skin on the top of your dog's head, and if it doesn't go back in 1 second, then it means that your dog is most likely dehydrated. If this persists for more than 24 hours, I recommend you seeing a veterinarian. If your dog ate something spoiled, rotten, or even possibly toxic, and otherwise it's acting normally, you may use activated charcoal tablets. In severe cases of diarrhea, you can use activated charcoal in the dose of 1 to 4 grams per kilogram, which is roughly about 0.5 to 2 grams per pound, to aid with toxic bacterial neutralization or toxin neutralization. If your dog refuses to swallow the pill on its own, you can mix it into a small amount of food. Ideally, have activated charcoal handy at home in case of your dog ingesting toxic substances, spoiled food, chocolate, or raisins that are also dangerous and toxic to dogs. So just remember, have a charcoal at home. It is a very inexpensive and life-saving method or ingredient that you should have at home. It is also important that in the course of using this protocol, use Gut Sense or other probiotics. I use Gut Sense. It's formulated specifically for dogs. It's non-dairy. It's made with certified organic ingredients, and it has also some digestive tract supporting ingredients like cilantro to eliminate heavy metals, ginger for improving digestion, and dandelion leaf for detoxification. So those are other supportive ingredients that can make a big difference in the course of the treatment of diarrhea. And I also use probiotics in long-term as a long-term supplement. It's part of the Fabulous 4 group, which is vitamins, minerals, omega-3s, and probiotics. Apart from the steps that I just mentioned, I have a couple of more natural home remedies that you can use to treat your dog's bout of diarrhea. If your dog tends to be chilly, you can mix 1/4 to 1 teaspoon of ginger. Usually the fact that they're cold or are prone to seeking heat means that they have insufficient digestive fire. If your dog tends to be hot, you can mix 1/4 to 1 teaspoon of wheat or barley grass powder or juice to cleanse the gastrointestinal tract. Homeopathic remedies can be also useful. Arsenicum album 30C, or it can come in the potency of 30 CH, that's the same thing, 30C or 30 CH, or 200C or CH, are a great way to treat acute diarrhea in dogs. If you get 30C, administer 3 doses daily for 2 to 3 days, and 1 dose if you get the mint size pellet would be three pellets. If you get the poppy seed size pellet, it would be roughly 20, but you don't need to count them, just estimate. And again, you can give this remedy for 2 to 3 days until the symptoms stop. If the symptoms stop sooner, you stop the remedy. If they start again, you give it again and observe the effect. Slippery elm is another natural remedy that can help soothe the digestive tract and reduce inflammation and speed recovery in cases of acute diarrhea. So remember that too, that you can give slippery elm. Now we are getting to the point of talking about treating persistent or chronic diarrhea in dogs. Most dogs have the odd diarrhea episode when they eat food that doesn't agree with them or is contaminated. And all you need to do at the first stage is applying the steps mentioned just before. When it comes to chronic diarrhea, it's super important to add a few steps, and one of them is diagnostic testing. It is essential in treating dogs with chronic diarrhea. Do not try to avoid veterinary office just because your dog is afraid of going to the veterinary office, or you want to save some money, because it can be really dangerous not to have a proper workup. Without tests, your veterinarian also cannot rule out serious conditions such as pancreatitis, which is inflammation of the pancreas, parasite infestation, pathogenic bacteria, foreign body ingestion, a tumor, or Addison's disease. If your dog has had diarrhea for longer than 48 hours or is lethargic, diagnostic tests should be done no matter what to get a better insight into your dog's overall health. Let's talk about some of the tests that are usually run in case of diarrhea. The first test is parasite test. I usually recommend sending the sample to the lab because the technicians there are more experienced than the hospital staff that sometimes analyzes the fecal samples. In such cases, you may have false negative if they miss the eggs of the parasite. There's also a newer test, ELISA antigen test, that is measuring or looking for the presence of a particular parasite. A fecal smear can be also done quickly in clinic to see if a specific pathogen such as Clostridium, a bacteria that can sometimes cause bloody diarrhea, is present. However, other pathogens can be recognized in fecal smears too, so it's an important and very simple test. Blood tests include an organ chemistry screen, complete blood count to make sure that there is an assessment of the red blood cells and white blood cells and see if there's any sign of inflammation, pancreatic markers, or tropical disease panel if you live in a warmer climate or have traveled recently with your pet to warmer areas. Now, X-rays and ultrasounds are typically used when checking for intestinal abnormalities such as foreign objects or tumors. In some situations, we may decide to do bacterial culture that can be used to see if pathogens such as Campylobacter, Salmonella, or pathogenic strains of E. coli are present in the intestines. Now, the tests that should be considered if your dog diarrhea isn't responsive to treatment are fecal cultures, hormone testing for Addison's disease or hypothyroidism, and then dietary allergy test. Testing your dog for allergies can help you manage your dog's food hypersensitivity, but it doesn't change the fact that your dog's immune system is overwhelmed and need to be treated. I do believe that eliminating certain components from your dog's diet can help to relieve the acute diarrhea episodes or even the chronic episodes. However, if you don't address toxicity, kibble-based deficiencies in diet, vaccine side effects, stress, or back-related issues, the diarrhea will very unlikely resolve. Now, I would like to talk a little bit about antibiotics and whether they're necessary in treating chronic diarrhea. Most of the time, antibiotics aren't required unless diarrhea is recurrent and longer lasting and the pathogen has been identified by fecal culture. Generally, I don't recommend antibiotics without a good understanding of what pathogenic bacteria is present in your dog's gastrointestinal tract, since it can cause further disturbances to the digestive system, damage to the healthy intestinal flora, and increase risk of superbug formation. In general, antibiotics are simply not needed, and I recommend you following the plan that I just mentioned here and working with your veterinarian to help your dog and prevent chronic diarrhea from occurring. Keeping your dog hydrated through an episode of diarrhea should be also top priority. You can check if your dog is dehydrated either through the head pinch test or by checking their gums. Healthy gums should be pink color. They shouldn't be too red or too pale. I usually recommend people establish the norm by checking their dog's gum color before a problem arises. So you have a good idea what normal gum color looks like. If you press the gums and it takes longer than 1 to 2 seconds for the color to come back, that may mean that your dog is dehydrated or there may be bleeding and you should see your vet. Fluid and electrolyte therapy is usually not required if your dog has diarrhea for less than 48 hours, unless they refuse to eat and drink or are vomiting profusely. Now, there are 2 types of fluid therapy: subcutaneous under the skin, which is used as a form of first aid for dehydration and can be administered at home if your vet guides you through it and teaches you how to give your dog subcutaneous fluids. Intravenous therapy is administered only in veterinary clinics and should never be attempted at home. Even if you have friends who are nurses or could administer catheter, it is not advised to try to do IV therapy at home. Now, the next question that I get often is about exercise and whether dogs with chronic diarrhea should be exercised. Personally, I like to take it easy with dogs that have diarrhea. It doesn't matter whether it's acute or chronic. Just make sure that you allow the body to rest and not exhausted with activity. Outside of the acute episodes, you should limit or ideally stop high-intensity exercises such as ball retrieving, excessive jumping, severe sprinting, swimming, and repeatedly leaping into the water, because those situations, those activities usually aggravate the lumbar area, especially when there is a problem. Many dogs suffer from recurrent bouts of diarrhea due to having injured their spine. When an injury like that occurs, the blood, nerve, and energy flow to the digestive tract is slowed down, weakening the intestines and causing digestive problems such as diarrhea, IBD, and leaky gut syndrome. Now, unfortunately, not many practitioners know about this link between spinal injuries and poor digestive health. As a result, numerous dogs get misdiagnosed, ending up on vicious cycle of antibiotics, steroids, and kibble diets while the main problem persists. Apart from seeking specialized treatment for the lumbar area, one homeopathic treatment works well, and that is phosphoric acid 30C and 200C. So if you see that your dog has injury of the spine, you can dose 30C phosphoric acid 3 times a day for 2 or 3 days, or 2 times a day for 3 days when it comes to 200C potency. I've seen this treatment work really well in dogs that have sprain of the lumbar muscles and tightness in that area. Now, I would like to talk a little bit about probiotics and why I consider them essential for digestive health. Probiotics are the good bacteria that supports your digestive system by breaking down food, helping the absorption of vitamins and minerals, maintaining a healthy gut balance, and eliminating harmful substances from the body. In fact, the beneficial properties of probiotics extend far beyond ensuring the proper functioning of the intestinal tract. The gut microbiome is also linked very closely to the function of the immune system. A balanced microbiome where good bacteria keeps bad bacteria at bay and from wreaking havoc within the body reduces your dog's chances of catching an infectious disease. That's why giving your dog probiotics is a great way to naturally prevent and treat many health issues, including acute and chronic diarrhea. About 80% of our immune system and our dog's immune system resides in the gut. So it's super important to look after our dog's intestinal tract, address any symptoms of diarrhea or inflammatory bowel disease, leaky gut, so we can build healthy and long, happy life for our dogs and ourselves. And as a dog lover, I can say one thing. I know that there is nothing better than seeing perfect number 2 when I walk my dog. Have a wonderful day and take care. Bye-bye. Oh, one more thing. If you have any questions, you can always go to my website. There's tons of articles and blogs on different topics. It gives me an incredible pleasure to help you keep your dogs healthy and also hear how well they're doing after you apply some of the treatment protocols. I also write a weekly newsletter that is full of information on how to keep your dog healthy and happy for many years to come. And if you want to join our pack, all you need to do is to subscribe on the website. Thank you so much and take care. Bye-bye.